now briefly go through some of the definitions to better explain
Just 1 second, please.
Yeah, materialism actually says that everything in this world can be defined by the matter surrounding that. And dialectical materialism, on the other hand, says that any change that happens in our society is brought about due to events, movements, actions surrounding a matter, a subject matter, and the inherent contradictions in these events and actions. So, to come to another definition, classes in old times were defined on the basis of ownership rights, property ownership rights. There were the bourgeoisie, which were the owners of production rights, the proletariats, who were the working class, who basically sold their labor for wage, and then there were the landowners whose main source of income was rent. So our hypothesis today is that we want to draw an analogy between the modern world classes, specifically in the case of Walmart, and we are saying that the inherent contradictions or conflicts arising between these classes actually bring about the change in policies of the company and change in policies in the society as a whole. Walmart actually has based its business on the underlying principle of increasing profits by lowering labor costs, and they go to extreme lengths to do that. Some of the ways they are able to do it is meager pay to the associates, notorious scheduling, as pointed out by one of the groups before. The scheduling of pregnant women were done on the basis of some program run on a computer, and they were given night shifts. Besides that, they have very stringent working conditions. Stores are very understaffed. They do not have a concept of overtime pay, and the employees, associates are told right from the start that they are believed, and this is inculcated in them, that all employees are replaceable. These measures taken by Walmart, these principles, have actually brought about a lot of retaliation from the associates, from the working class, the employees there. Some ways through which they retaliated was stealing. So the company actually loses about $30 billion per year due to stealing or shrinking of assets, and so much so that so regularly that they have actually inculcated it in their business plan. Other ways that they went against this was quitting turnover rates of 50%. In fact, it went to an industry high of 70% in 1999 in Walmart. And the most effective way was unionization. So unions, basically, National Labour Rights Act was passed in 1935, which allowed all the working class, all the employees to form unions if more than 50% of them were able to sign the union card. And so this method was used by many of the associates to go for collective bargaining against the top management, boycott work, slow down of works and strikes. This again led to some of the measures taken by the company, like Labor Protection Department, and which was Loss Prevention Department. Sorry. So the department that was opened by the company was Loss Prevention Department. This basically dealt with all the cells that was taken, all the thefts that have become prevalent in the company. Later turned into asset protection. And through this, on the pretext of actually monitoring the thefts in the company was doing policing of the behavior of its employees. So there were cameras deployed in every store and in all the parking lots, and every action, every behavioral aspect of all the employees was noticed. It was tracked, and any signs of unionization were noted down, and consequent actions were taken to prevent that. The company had zero tolerance for unionization. They had made it clear in many of their statements as well. Some of the anti-union policies measures that they took was staving off of union elections. So whenever an election date, union elections were announced, they used to delay it, and in the meantime, all the employees were shown either training videos or talks by industry professionals on how unions are actually authoritarian. They are anti-democratic. They are greedy. They promote greed and unrealistic demands. So these are some of the ways that they did. They discouraged union formation. Obviously, a labor relations team was formed, which used to take care of any such activity, any form of unionization that took place in the company, or any early signs were. So basically, through the cameras, they were able to track down any signs of union formation, and they categorized it into three different categories: the early signs, the slightly advanced signs of union formation, and the final stages. So this is the extent to which they went to prevent formation of unions. And to counter this, one more thing that Walmart actually believed that how they justified this was that they said that individuals should be given their freedom to decide their wage and the wage for which they are ready to sell their labor. So they said that this is a free market, and whether or not and how much wage they are paid and whether or not they are kept, there is a minimum wage allotted to them, should be decided by the supply and demand mechanism, which is free market basically. So there should not be any regulation on it. However, they did not take into account that there was an asymmetry here, that the company already had a lot of economic and political power to influence the wages and the rights associated with that. So again, to counter this, the unions came up with the logic, associates came up with the logic that the asymmetry, they are already rich, they have the power, and to overcome that, we need to actually form unions to go for collective bargaining. Walmart thought of its employees as commodity. Walmart believed that like commodity, employees are replaceable, and their prices, whatever the wages, that has to be divided by the supply and demand of the free market mechanism, and there should not be any restriction on that. So we have a few examples. Nikhil will take you through them.
So they analyzed about Walmart's anti-union policies. What they effectively did through their corporate communication strategy was to alienate the union and what it stood for. And in turn, when there's no union, what they did was to project themselves as giving their employees all the good working conditions, etc. But as you know, it was actually pretty applicable. There were wages and labor hours, which led to a class conflict. That leads us to the premise of class conflict and So a similar case to Walmart is the textile and garment industry, specifically the sportswear industry. So this industry had factories in Sri Lanka, Indonesia and Philippines, which housed more than 100,000 workers. But they had pitiable work conditions, wages, long labor hours, resulting in them being disillusioned with work. So the concept of unions again arose there, namely the freedom association. But what happened was the management again routinely suppressed them through harassment, bribes, and premature factory closures, if that be the case. Another thing was that they set them high or unrealistic high production targets based on the fact that this would ultimately helping the company and themselves. But this was a way to not let the employees organize so as to form unions. Okay, so this is, I guess, the typical corporate communication strategy, which hides the realities and the class struggle, which shows the technique of that.
So it's a bit late, but still good evening. And our hypothesis, actually, to reiterate again, is that class conflicts cause change, and change is actually good. So, looking at it from a historical point, we had to come with a huge example, a relative example, to showcase what's been happening in Walmart. They are misusing their employees, not giving them enough rights, and all that. So, thinking of an example, I thought let's just go beyond a firm, maybe a country, and what more than our favorite country, the country with which is the oldest democracy here, with 2.7 Latin workforce. So yes, America, and united we stand. They say that, but still they mean otherwise. And okay, let's just take a brief walk through its history. African Americans, actually. So the Africans were brought into the United States at 1826, primarily for the purpose as slaves. And US had a big struggle for freedom and then got its independence in 1776, which they claimed was independence and equality for all. But clearly not the case. The blacks were not given their equal share of rights. They were denied many of them. And so there was a civil war which came up, mainly due to this fact that the South and North were divided into two factions based on how much liberty to give to these people. So there were quite a few constitutional amendments which were added, some including, some that want to end slavery, give citizenship, and then give people the right to vote. But again, like the case of Walmart, actually, which had its HR agencies just give a false front, saying that yes, we do care about our employees, they mean the world to us and all that. So likewise, this was also a front. Clearly the people here weren't given their due rights. So discrimination against black people did continue to a very large degree. A few examples are unequal status in their schools. There were some schools which were just specifically only for the black students, where specifically for the white students, where the black students were given entry there. Huge amount of discrimination there. And then also the story of Rosa Parks, which is actually quite famous. She was traveling in a bus, and then a white passenger demanded a seat, asked her to get up, but then she didn't want to give the seat up, and for which she was actually jailed and for public misconduct. And after that, there's also a case of governor, actually. There were 9 students who were out of merit got admission into an elite college school, but then the governor actually stepped in and prevented their admission into the school, saying that these students who are actually black should not be allowed to enter into these. And actually, not an old example, these are actually happening in 1954, 55, 56, a country which has had its independence for more than 250 years, but still has evolved after such a long time. And again, like Walmart, to find a lot of little examples here. So Walmart did have its own agency which kept active lookout for any labor, any unions that were being formed. So unions as such, again, as per Walmart, is something that shouldn't happen because employees are just supposed to do their work and not meddle with not meddle with the corporate governance. So likewise, there was a Ku Klux Klan which came up, and at times believed to be actually supported by the president also sometimes, and they did have a lot of political power. So many actually political parties did support Ku Klux Klan, who went around actually lynching black people and killing them and just showing their white supremacy. So eventually the battle, freedom was won for the black people, and Martin Luther King, a very famous person, he won the Nobel Prize, actually Nobel Peace Prize, and as one of the youngest person to win it. And so the main class conflicts here were economic and social, which were overcome thankfully, and there's a complete 180-degree turn which has been taken place with the President of the United States, who is now an African American. And yes, I'd like to sign off by saying change is good, go for it. as some of us say.